The Imperial Command Room was never a quiet place, but today it felt different. The air inside was tight, heavy, and strangely cold, as if something unseen was watching from the shadows. Officers moved across glowing screens, reading reports, sending commands, and pretending everything was normal. But everyone felt the same silent warning. Something was coming. High above the command room, giant windows showed the empty stretch of deep space where the Empire's borders began. Normally, only patrol ships passed through. Everything out there was calm, controlled, and safe. At least, that was what every officer believed, until the alarm shattered the silence. A sharp red light exploded across the room. Unidentified warp signatures detected, an officer shouted. The room froze. The Admiral, a tall man with silver armor and a scar over his right eye, turned sharply. From where? He demanded. The young scanner officer looked confused. His hand shook on the controls. Sir, everywhere. What do you mean everywhere? The Admiral snapped. But then the screens answered for him. Hundreds, no thousands, of bright blue signatures appeared outside the border. They were not slow, drifting signals. They were sharp, organized, moving with purpose. The kind of movement only a battle fleet could make. A whisper ripple went through the room. Are they pirates? No fleet is that big. Maybe the outer clans? No clan has that type of formation. The signals grew clearer, stronger, closer. The Admiral frowned. Increase focus. Show us the ships. The officer tapped the controls. The image sharpened, and the room turned silent again, this time with pure fear. Tall, dark vessels shaped like spearheads. Massive carriers with glowing engines. Destroyers with angled armor. Unknown signatures, unknown power readings, but the design was unmistakable. The Admiral stepped closer, hands curling into fists. This can't be, because every officer in the room had seen these ship shapes before. In old books, in ancient pictures, in history recordings no one watched anymore. Human ships. But the humans were gone, erased, removed from the galaxy. Everyone believed it. Everyone was told the same story. Humans died 3 centuries ago. So what were these ships doing here? The Admiral felt his breath go cold. Run identity scans, he ordered. We already did, sir, the officer whispered. 3 times. And? The officer swallowed. All readings confirm. They are human signatures. Human energy patterns. Human designs. Shock hit the room like a wave. One officer stepped back, knocking over a datapad. Another covered her mouth. A whisper from the back echoed through the hall. That's impossible. The Admiral stared at the ships on the screen. He had fought in many wars. He had seen fleets larger than mountains and weapons that could split asteroids. But something about this fleet felt different. There was a silence inside it. A focus. A purpose. Not the chaos of raiders or the greed of clans. This fleet moved like a storm that had waited too long. Suddenly the screen flashed again. They're hailing us, the communication officer said. The Admiral tensed. Put it through. But the message did not show a face. It was only a sound. A deep, heavy voice that felt old and patient. We are returning for what is ours. The voice faded, leaving cold silence behind it. The Admiral blinked. That's all. Yes, sir. Try again. We did. That is the only message. The Admiral rubbed his forehead. The officers started whispering once more. What do they want? What does ours mean? Why now? Where did they come from? Before anyone could ask more questions, the sensors beeped again. Their carriers are opening. On the screen, the giant human flagships released smaller ships. Sleek. Silent. Deadly. They began spreading out like black wings. The Admiral shouted, Raise shields. Call the Emperor. Prepare for full defense. Officers ran to their stations. Red lights flashed. The hum of shield generators roared through the walls. The command room shook slightly as power surged across the station. But then a strange thing happened. The human fleet did not move forward. It did not fire. It did not speak again. It simply waited. Rows and rows of dark ships hovered outside the Empire's border, still as statues, watching the command station like predators studying prey. The Admiral felt sweat on his neck. He had seen many enemies, but none had ever arrived like this, without fear, without rush, without even raising a weapon. As if they knew something the Empire didn't. Suddenly, the Admiral noticed someone at the edge of the room. Lieutenant Seri, a quiet young officer who rarely spoke. Her eyes were locked on the screen, but she wasn't frightened like the others. She looked troubled. He walked toward her. "Lieutenant, something to report." She hesitated, then whispered, "Sir, I've seen that mark before. On their lead ship. The symbol on its wing." "Where?" "In the restricted files, sir. The old archives. The ones sealed by the Emperor himself." The Admiral's heartbeat slowed. What did the files say? Seri looked at him with fear in her eyes. "They said the humans did not die, sir. They were exiled, forced out, and one day, they would return." The Admiral stared at her, breath tight in his chest. Outside the window, the human ships glowed like silent ghosts of an ancient war. And now, they had returned. The command room was filled with noise, flashing lights, and worried voices, but Lieutenant Seri barely heard any of it. Her heartbeat was louder than everything around her. The human fleet outside the window hung in space like a dark wall, silent and unmoving, but she could not stop staring at the symbol on the lead ship. A circle of light crossed by 3 lines. She had seen it before. Years ago. In a forbidden archive. The Admiral noticed she was shaking. "Lieutenant Seri," he said softly, "what do you know?" She looked around. Officers were listening. Fearful eyes turned toward her. She swallowed hard. "Sir, I should not speak here." "Why?" the Admiral demanded. "Because the Emperor ordered that symbol to never be discussed," she whispered. Silence fell over the room. The Admiral's scarred eye narrowed. He leaned closer. "Follow me." He led her through a side door into a narrow hallway. 2 guards followed but stayed outside when the Admiral raised his hand. He took Seri into a small private briefing room, its walls lined with silent screens. "Talk," he said. Seri hesitated, then finally spoke. "That symbol belongs to the old Earth fleet." The Admiral stiffened. "Impossible. The old Earth fleet was destroyed." "That is what we were told," Seri replied quietly. "But the sealed files say otherwise." The Admiral paced slowly. "What files?" "The Emperor's forbidden archive," she answered. "The exile records. I accessed them 2 years ago by mistake during a system error. When security shut down the terminal, I had already read a little." The Admiral stopped walking. "What did you read?" Seri looked at the floor as if afraid the walls themselves were listening. It said humans were not wiped out. They were pushed out of the galaxy, forced beyond the star borders. A secret operation called Project Exile. The Admiral's breath caught. "And that symbol," Seri pointed toward the direction of the command room window. "It was on the last human fleet that refused to surrender. The Empire could not destroy them, so they banished them." The room grew colder. The Admiral stared at her. "If this is true, why hide it?" Seri looked up at him with haunted eyes. "Because the exile record said something else, sir. Something worse." "What?" "That the humans swore they would return. Not for revenge, but for something the Empire stole from them." The Admiral sat down slowly, as if the weight of her words pressed on his shoulders. "Something stolen." Before he could ask more, the station lights flickered. A deep tremor rolled through the floor. The Admiral stood. What was that? The door slid open. One of the guards stepped in urgently. "Sir, you both need to return to the command room. Something has changed." The Admiral nodded and motioned for Seri to follow. When they re-entered the command room, every officer was staring at the main screen with wide eyes. The human fleet had moved. Not forward, not backward, but into a formation. A perfect half-circle around the Imperial border, like a closing jaw. "They're surrounding us," someone whispered. "No," the Admiral said, studying the pattern. "Not surrounding. Containing. Containing what? Another officer asked. Before anyone could answer, the human fleet transmitted another message. This time, it wasn't a voice. It was a map. A star map showing a region far from Imperial space. Dark, cold, and empty. But something pulsed at the center of the map. A small glowing point of light, beating like a heart. The map zoomed in, and text appeared on every screen. Return the Sun Key. The Admiral frowned. Sun Key? What is that? Officers shook their heads. No one had ever heard the term. Except one. Sari stepped forward. I know that name. Every head turned. She continued, her voice trembling. The files mentioned it. The Sun Key is not a weapon. It is something the humans created long ago. Something powerful. What does it do? The Admiral asked. I don't know, she admitted. The files did not explain. They only said the Empire took it before the exile. The communication officer suddenly gasped. Incoming message, visual. The room tensed as a face appeared on the screen. It was a human. A tall man with dark eyes, wearing a black uniform with a circle and line symbol on his chest. His gaze was calm but carried a silent threat. He spoke slowly, each word sharp as a blade. We have returned for what was stolen. Return the Sun Key, and no world will burn. Hide it, and we will take it by force. The room fell completely silent. The transmission ended. An officer whispered in fear. They know about the Sun Key, but we don't? The Admiral turned to Sari. Lieutenant, those files, did they say where the Sun Key is kept? Sari nodded slowly. Yes, sir. In the Emperor's vault. A wave of tension hit the room. The Emperor's vault was the most secure place in the Empire. Only the Emperor and 2 High Guardians could enter. The Admiral clenched his fists. Then we have no choice. We must see what the Emperor is hiding. Suddenly, the station shook violently. Alarms screamed. The scanner officer shouted, Sir, several human ships just vanished from sensors. What? The Admiral barked. They were there a second ago. Then gone. Sari's face turned pale. They're not gone, she whispered. They're coming. Coming where? An officer asked. Sari looked around the room with wide eyes. Inside, she said softly. And at that moment, the lights began to flicker again. The humans had already entered the station. The command room lights flickered again, and a cold shiver passed through every officer. The screen showed the human fleet still holding formation outside, unmoving, silent, dangerous. But inside the station, something had changed. Several human strike ships had vanished from the scanners. Not destroyed. Not cloaked. Just gone. And everyone knew what gone really meant. They were here. Inside. The Admiral raised his voice, trying to control the rising panic. Activate internal defense grids. Seal every corridor. Officers rushed to their stations, but before they could lock the systems, every security screen turned black. One after another, the cameras shut off, like invisible hands were covering each lens. The room went silent as the last security feed blinked out. Only one screen remained active. The center one. The one meant for high-priority communication. A bright white light flashed across it, forcing officers to shield their eyes. When the light faded, a message appeared in simple, sharp writing. Stand by for direct communication. The Admiral clenched his jaw. They're forcing a channel? The communication officer's hands shook. Sir, we can't block it. Before the Admiral could reply, the screen changed again. A face appeared. The human. The same man from the earlier message. But this time, his expression was different. No calm threat. No distant warning. His eyes were focused, intense, almost cold. He looked directly into the command room, as if he could see everyone standing there. This is Commander Ren Vale of the Earth Restoration Fleet, he said. His voice was steady, but each word carried sharp weight. Your empire stole something vital to our survival. We are here to take it back. The Admiral stepped forward. State your intentions clearly. Commander Vale tilted his head slightly. We already did. Return the Sun Key. The Admiral's voice hardened. We don't know what that is. The human commander studied the Admiral's face, as if searching for truth. If that is so, then understand this. The Sun Key does not belong to you. It belongs to humanity. His voice remained calm, but there was something underneath it, something old and powerful. Sari stepped closer without thinking. Why do you need it? Commander Vale's eyes moved to her, and the room grew even more tense. The Emperor's laws were clear. No one below high command should speak during crisis communication. But the human did not look offended. Instead, he answered. The Sun Key is a star core, he said. A piece of our home star, taken by your Emperor before our exile. Gasps filled the room. A star core? From the human home star? Sari felt the world tilt slightly. But why now? After hundreds of years. Commander Vale's expression changed slightly. Just for a moment. Pain flickered behind his eyes. Because our star is dying. Without the core it will collapse. And humanity with it. The command room echoed with shock. Even the Admiral looked shaken. You're saying, your entire species will die? Yes, the human commander answered. Unless the Sun Key is returned. For a brief moment, the room felt heavy with silence. Not fear, not anger, but something almost like guilt. Sari looked down at her hands. The Empire had always taught that humans were violent, dangerous, wild. But here, the truth was different. They were fighting to survive. But the moment didn't last. The alarms suddenly screamed again. The station shook violently, knocking several officers off their feet. The communication officer yelled, Sir, we have multiple breach alerts on levels 5, 6, and 9. The Admiral shouted, Where did they enter? We don't know. Sensors show nothing. They're moving without leaving signatures. Commander Vale's voice cut sharply through the chaos. Your internal systems cannot detect our shadow teams. They are already inside. They are heading to the Emperor's vault. The Admiral's eyes widened. You're invading the station? Invading, Commander Vale repeated calmly. No. Reclaiming. The Admiral slammed his hand on the console. We will stop you. The human commander did not raise his voice. You cannot. Not because you lack weapons, but because you lack time. The room trembled again. Dust fell from the ceiling. Sari watched the screen closely. Commander Vale wasn't smiling. He wasn't threatening. He was simply stating facts, as if the outcome was already decided. A distant explosion shook the floor. Officers grabbed onto consoles to steady themselves. Lights flickered again. Commander Vale spoke once more, his voice steady while the station shook around them. The Sun Key belongs to us. We will take it peacefully, if you choose peace. If not, he leaned forward slightly. We will still take it. The screen cut to black. The silence that followed was worse than the alarm. The Admiral turned to his officers. All units, protect the Emperor's vault. Now. But even as he spoke, the meaning became clear. The humans were already ahead. Already inside. Already moving toward the one thing the Empire could not risk losing. Sari looked at the Admiral with worry. Sir, if the Sun Key is really a star core, what will the humans do if we refuse to give it back? The Admiral stared at the dark screen where the human commander had been. They will start a war, he whispered. A war no one can win. And as another explosion shook the station, Sari realized something terrifying. This war had already begun. The explosions became louder as the minutes passed. The entire station shook like a giant metal beast fighting to stay alive. Officers ran through the command room, shouting reports, sending warnings, and calling for backup. But nothing stopped the fear rising in their voices. The humans were inside. Moving fast. Moving silently. The Admiral stood at the center of the chaos, his hands clenched behind his back, his jaw tight. He was trying to stay calm, but even he felt the heavy weight of danger settling over the station. Sari stayed close to him. She kept her eyes on the scanners, but the screen showed nothing except shadows and distortion. The human shadow teams left no readable traces. They were ghosts in metal corridors. Then a new alarm blared. Breach on level 12. Security teams down. Level 12, the Admiral repeated sharply. That's close to the vault path. Sir, another officer called from the far console. We're detecting Imperial signals near the humans. Someone is assisting them. The command room froze. Assisting, the Admiral repeated. Explain. We picked up encrypted Imperial codes, the officer said. Not ours. Higher level. Someone is guiding the humans through the blind spots. A thick silence filled the room. A traitor. Inside the Empire. Inside their own station. Helping the humans. The Admiral's eyes burned with anger. Track the signal. We can't, sir, the officer said. It's bouncing between different security nodes. Whoever is doing this knows the system extremely well. Sari whispered. Someone from command. The Admiral said nothing, but his expression answered for him. Before anyone could speak, the main doors slid open. A tall, broad-shouldered Imperial general entered the command room. General Kress. His armor shone with gold symbols of the Emperor, and his cold eyes scanned the room with impatience. Admiral, he said firmly, the Emperor demands immediate status. The Admiral turned to him. General Kress, we have a situation. Human strike teams are inside the station. Someone is helping them. Kress cut him off. I am already aware. His voice held no fear, only annoyance. The Emperor has ordered all forces to fall back and secure the vault entrance. No one gets through. Sari watched him closely. Something about his tone felt wrong. Too calm. Too controlled. The Admiral narrowed his eyes. General, how did you know about the breach? We only discovered the traitor a moment ago. Kress stared at him without blinking. The Emperor informs me of everything. That answer felt too quick. Too rehearsed. Sari stepped forward carefully, her voice soft. General, the humans are moving very fast. They seem to know our blind spots. They know our locks. They know our patrol routes. She hesitated. Do you have any explanation? General Kress's eyes flashed with irritation. Lieutenant, you are out of line. But the room had already noticed the tension. All eyes turned toward the general. Suddenly, the communication screen blinked with an encrypted symbol. Sari recognized it instantly, the same symbol the humans used when sending hidden signals. Only this time, the symbol was reversed. An Imperial encryption key, connected to the same channel the humans had used. Sari's breath stopped. The traitor was inside this room. The Admiral turned to the officer nearest the screen. Decode it. The officer typed quickly. The message appeared in 3 short lines. Coordinates sent. Shadow teams entering vault path. Do not engage. The room froze. The Admiral turned slowly, and his eyes locked on General Kress. Kress did not move. He only stared back with cold confidence. The Admiral spoke quietly. You sent them the coordinates. A dangerous silence filled every corner of the command room. Kress stepped forward, lifting his chin. I did what the Emperor refuses to do. The humans deserve what was taken from them. And if returning it prevents a war, then yes, I helped them reach the vault. You betrayed the Empire, the Admiral growled. No, Kress said sharply. The Empire betrayed itself long ago when it exiled the humans and stole their star core. Officers stepped back in shock. Kress continued, his voice rising. Do you think the Emperor cares about us? About our lives? He hides the truth. He keeps the Sun Key locked away while knowing it is killing their star. He wants the humans to die out. He wants to erase them forever. Enough! The Admiral shouted. Guards, arrest him! 2 guards rushed forward, but Kress moved faster. He grabbed the first guard's arm and hurled him across the room. The second guard hesitated, and that was enough. Kress slammed him into a console, knocking him unconscious. The command room erupted into chaos. The Admiral drew his side weapon. Kress! Stop this madness! Kress snarled. Open your eyes, Admiral. The humans are not our enemy. The Emperor is. Sari stepped back, trying to stay out of Kress's path. The room shook again as another explosion echoed through the station, closer than ever. The officer at the scanner screamed, "Sir! The human shadow teams have reached the inner vault tunnels." The Admiral aimed his weapon at Kress. "This ends now." But Kress looked past the Admiral toward the screen showing the vault corridors. And he smiled. "You're already too late." Before the Admiral could fire, Kress activated a small device on his wrist. A blinding flash filled the command room. Officers shielded their eyes. The Admiral stumbled back. When the light faded, Kress was gone, vanished down the corridor. Sari whispered in fear, "He's going to help them open the Emperor's vault." The Admiral clenched his fists. "Then we chase him. Now, before everything is lost." But as the officers prepared to move, one final alarm echoed across the station. A new breach. Inside the vault chamber itself. The humans were already there, and the Empire was running out of time. The corridor outside the command room echoed with alarms as the Admiral, Sari, and a squad of Imperial guards rushed through the metal passageways. Red lights flashed on and off, painting the walls in sharp shadows. Every explosion felt closer. Every tremor felt stronger. The humans had reached the inner tunnels. The vault was only 3 levels below. The Admiral spoke through his teeth as he ran. "Shadow teams move like silent blades. They don't knock. They don't warn. They just appear." Sari tried to steady her breathing. "Sir, if they reach the vault before we do." "They won't," the Admiral said, even though he didn't sound sure. Suddenly, the lights flickered again, then went completely dark. The entire hallway fell into pitch-black silence. Sari froze. "Sir, stay calm," the Admiral whispered. "Backup lights will come on in a moment." But the backup lights didn't activate. Instead, small white lights appeared far down the corridor, floating slowly, smoothly, like small glowing fireflies. The guards raised their rifles. "What is that?" one whispered. Sari squinted. Not fire, not sparks. Then she saw them clearly. Not lights. Eyes. Human strike helmets, glowing with small white lenses. The warriors stood perfectly still at the end of the hall, their dark armor blending into the shadows. Shadow team. 6 of them. Silent. Motionless. Watching. The guards panicked and fired. Shots cracked through the darkness, but the beams hit only metal walls. The shadow team was gone. Vanished. Sari's breath caught. They were just there. The Admiral whispered, "Stay ready. They're using shift tech." Shift tech. Ancient human teleportation bursts. Illegal. Unpredictable. Impossible to track. A sudden clang echoed behind them. Sari turned sharply. Another shadow team member now stood only a few steps away, almost close enough to touch. He didn't raise a weapon. He didn't attack. He simply stared at them through glowing lenses. The guards aimed their rifles, hands shaking. "Don't shoot," the Admiral said quietly. "If they wanted us dead, we'd already be dead." The soldier tilted his head slightly, then disappeared in a silent burst of pale light. Sari trembled. Why didn't he attack? "He's not here for us," the Admiral said. "They want one thing. The vault." As if the station itself heard his words, another explosion echoed below them. Dust rained from the ceiling. "That came from the vault level," an officer shouted behind them. "Move," the Admiral ordered. The group ran again. They reached the elevator shaft, but it was destroyed. The walls were scorched black. The lift was melted into twisted metal. Sari pointed to a side path. "Maintenance ladder." They climbed down fast. Heat rose from below. The vault level was in chaos. When they reached the bottom, thick smoke filled the air. A large door at the end of the hallway pulsed with heavy metallic thumps. Someone was trying to break it open from the inside. But it wasn't human shadow teams. When the smoke cleared, Sari saw a figure she recognized. General Kress. He stood in front of the vault's entrance, typing fast on a glowing lock panel. Sparks flew from the override system. "Kress," the Admiral shouted. "Step away from that door." Kress turned. His armor was partially burned, his face streaked with sweat and determination. You're too late, Admiral, Kress said. The humans are almost through the inner seal. You're helping them open the final lock, the Admiral growled. You are betraying your own people. Kress stepped back from the panel. I am saving millions of lives. You don't understand what the Emperor has done. What he still hides. Seri moved forward. What is inside the vault, General? Why is the Sun Key here? Kress looked at her, not with anger but with pity. Lieutenant, the Sun Key is alive. Seri's breath caught. Alive? Kress nodded. It's a burning star core. And it's dying in there. Fading. The humans didn't lie. Their star will collapse without it. The Admiral lifted his weapon. Step away from the vault. But before Kress could answer, the vault door behind him shook violently. A dark crack spread across the surface. The shadow teams were cutting through. Kress stepped back, eyes locked on the door. They're almost here. The Admiral gave one final warning. Kress, move. Kress sighed. I cannot. He reached for his pulse blade. The Admiral fired first. The blast struck Kress in the chest. He fell to his knees, armor sparking. He didn't scream. He didn't speak. He only looked at the vault door one last time and whispered, "Let them take it." Then he collapsed. Seri covered her mouth in shock. The Admiral stared at Kress's body, breathing hard. But then, the vault door split open with a deafening crack. Thick white steam poured out. Lights flickered wildly. The shadow team stepped through the broken entrance, 6 silhouettes appearing like silent phantoms. Then a 7th figure entered behind them. Commander Ren Vale. His dark eyes fixed on the Admiral. Stand aside, he said quietly. The Admiral raised his weapon. Never. Commander Vale stepped closer. His soldiers moved like one living shadow. Seri whispered, her voice trembling. They're going to take the Sun Key, right now. The human commander stared at the Admiral. Not take, he said softly. Take back. And the vault behind them roared with a deep, glowing light, like a living star waking from sleep. The Imperial Command Room felt colder than ever. Lights flickered above the officers as they stared at the tactical map. Human fleets were spreading like wildfire across the battle grid. Every few seconds, a new human squadron blinked into view, moving with perfect coordination. Admiral Thalrex stood completely still. His 4 eyes stayed fixed on the center of the holotable. The human flagship Resolute Dawn had stopped advancing. It was holding position, almost daring the Empire to make a move. Commander Vikros swallowed hard. Admiral, their formation looks like a trap. Thalrex didn't answer. His claws tapped lightly on the table, the only sound in the whole room. Everyone waited for his command, but he said nothing. He was thinking, calculating, trying to guess the motive behind the human's sudden halt. On the other side of space, Captain Aaron Hale watched the enemy armada from his command platform. His fleet stretched across the black void, ships glowing like scattered stars. The Empire's forces were still larger, but cracks were beginning to show. Open tactical comms, Aaron said. A row of holograms appeared, human captains from dozens of ships. All of them looked tense, but determined. Aaron took a slow breath and spoke. Listen carefully. We stand at the edge of the hardest moment. The Empire still believes we are only here to defend ourselves. They do not understand that today, we finish this war. Silence followed. Heavy. Electric. Aaron continued. Their command structure is breaking. Their front lines are stretched thin. We strike now, not for victory alone, but to end their control forever. The captains nodded. Signals flashed as orders spread across the formation. Engines powered up. Shields thickened. Weapons glowed like the hearts of small suns. The humans were ready. Back in the Imperial Command Room, alarms rang out suddenly. A sensor officer shouted, Admiral! The human fleet is shifting. They're forming a 3-point spear, straight toward our command sector. Vikros turned pale. They are coming for us. Thalrex finally spoke, his voice calm but edged with fear. Prepare counterformation Theta. Redirect all heavy cruisers to the front. We stop them here. But even he knew the truth. Theta formation had never been used against an enemy as fast as humans. Human destroyers moved first, shooting forward like silver arrows. Imperial cruisers tried to adjust, but the humans were already inside their range. Beams of white fire cut across the darkness, slicing through shields, breaking armor, tearing ships apart. Imperial officers watched in disbelief. "They are not fighting like before," someone whispered. "They have become faster, stronger. They fight like they planned this moment for years." Admiral Thalrex clenched his jaw. "They have been preparing, and we never saw it." On the human flagship, the bridge shook as enemy plasma hit the shields. "Shields holding at 80%, a tech shouted. Aaron focused on the central screen. "Push harder. They are losing formation." Human battleships unleashed a storm of missiles that locked onto targets with perfect accuracy. Explosions bloomed like fiery flowers across the enemy fleet. But the Empire was not finished. A massive shadow moved into view. Something enormous. Commander Lisa gasped. Admiral-class dreadnought approaching. "It's powering its super cannon." The screen flashed red as the dreadnought charged its main weapon, a beam strong enough to vaporize an entire city. Aaron raised his voice. "All ships, spread to defensive arc. Do not take that beam head-on." Imperial crew members cheered inside their dreadnought. "We have them. Fire!" A pillar of blue energy shot across space, cutting through 3 human corvettes instantly. The blast grazed a cruiser, sending it spinning out of control. Aaron held the rail tightly. "That weapon. We cannot let them fire again." He turned to his tactical officer. "Prepare the Titan maneuver." The officer froze. "Captain, that move has never been tested." Aaron's voice hardened. "Then today it will be." The Titan maneuver required insane precision. Human ships had to dive between Imperial lines, twist around the dreadnought, and strike its rear power core, all while avoiding its massive cannon. The entire human fleet shifted formation. From afar, it looked like the wings of a giant bird folding inward. Imperial officers panicked. "They're inside our defensive ring. Block them! Block them!" But they couldn't. The humans were moving like a rising storm. Silent, unstoppable. Destroyers darted through the dreadnought's blind spots, firing rapid blasts. Frigates circled its flanks, breaking shield nodes. Battleships fired heavy rounds that hit the exact same point, again and again, cracking its armor. Finally, Aaron gave the last command. "All ships, hit the power core." A blinding explosion tore through the dreadnought. The shockwave lit up space like a newborn star. When the light faded, the giant ship was gone, ripped apart, falling into silence. Everyone, human and Imperial, stared at the aftermath. The balance of the war had shifted, and every officer in the Imperial Command Room felt the same cold fear. If humans can destroy a dreadnought, then what else are they capable of? Admiral Thalrex lowered his head, a shadow crossing his expression. "This is not a battle anymore," he whispered. "This is the rise of a new power." Silence settled over the battlefield after the fall of the Imperial dreadnought. Burning debris floated like dying stars. Human ships held formation, weapons still glowing. Every captain knew the same truth. The Empire was wounded, but not finished. Inside the Imperial Command Room, fear spread like smoke. Officers rushed between consoles, sending frantic reports. Their screens showed human fleets pushing deeper, step by step, toward the Imperial core defense line. Commander Vikros looked shaken. "Admiral, the humans destroyed a dreadnought, our most powerful ship. They should not have been able to do that." Admiral Thalrex stood motionless, staring at the slowly collapsing front line. "We underestimated them," he whispered. "We always believed humans were weak, emotional, chaotic." He turned away from the holotable. "But they fight with something we never understood." No one spoke. Everyone felt the same cold truth. This war was changing forever. On the human flagship Resolute Dawn, Captain Aaron Hale watched the Imperial core fleet gather ahead. Hundreds of enemy ships formed a giant steel wall around the Empire's last defensive line. Lieutenant Mara studied the readings. "Captain, the core fleet is activating their last shield barrier. If it goes up, Nothing can break through. Aaron folded his arms. Then we strike before they finish. He opened fleet-wide comms. All ships, this is Captain Hale. We stand at the end of a long war. The Empire controls hundreds of worlds. They ruled with fear, and today, fear ends. Human officers straightened, their faces set with determination. Aaron continued, voice steady. Our families are behind us. Our future is in front of us. This is the moment we choose what humanity becomes. The order was simple. Charge the enemy line. Break their shield before it rises. This is our final strike. Human ships surged forward. Imperial ships fired everything they had. Plasma beams, torpedoes, laser storms. The space between the two forces became a blinding river of fire. A human cruiser exploded. A destroyer spun out of formation. But the rest kept moving, faster and more focused than ever. Inside the Imperial Command, alarms screamed. They're pushing through. They are ignoring losses. No species fights like this. Admiral Thalrex felt his chest tighten. They are not fighting for victory, he said quietly. They are fighting for freedom. The human fleet reached the edge of the core shield node, a massive station that powered the Empire's last defense barrier. Captain Aaron gave the final command. All heavy ships, target the node. A storm of missiles and beams hit the station. Armor cracked. Energy coils burst. Fire spilled out like molten gold. The shield barrier flickered. Keep firing, Aaron shouted. Then, boom. The core shield node exploded in a burst of white light. The Empire's final protection collapsed like shattered glass. The Imperial Command Room went silent. Commander Vikros dropped to his knees. Admiral, it's over. Thalrex closed his eyes. He knew the truth. No more reinforcements. No more barriers. The humans have broken the Empire. Aaron watched the explosion fade. Signal the enemy. Offer surrender terms. Minutes later, an Imperial transmission appeared. Admiral Thalrex stood in the projection, shoulders heavy, eyes hollow. Human commander, he began slowly. We surrender. The Empire yields to the human fleet. Aaron exhaled, tension melting from his body. It is done, he said quietly. Human crews across every ship began cheering. Some cried. Some simply stared, unable to believe what they had achieved. Humanity had risen. Not as victims. Not as survivors. But as a force strong enough to shake an empire. When the war ended, news spread across the galaxy. Races that once feared the Empire now looked at humans with awe and respect. No one expected a young, small species to defeat a power that ruled for centuries. But humans had something the Empire never understood. When pushed into a corner, humans become unstoppable. And on that day, the galaxy learned a new truth. You can challenge humans. You can threaten them. You can even try to destroy them. But you should never, ever underestimate them.